Ladies and gentlemen, the government is not controlling itself. Federalist Papers were written in defense of the Constitution, to advance it in the states, to get it ratified. John Jay and Hamilton and Madison, advocates, Federalists. And there were, of course, the anti-Federalists, by the way, who were equally brilliant and who raised many concerns about the Constitution, some of which have come true. But the bottom line, folks, is this. We don't worship individuals in this country. We may admire them. We don't confer power on them outside of the Constitution in this country. Or at least we used to not do that. We didn't. So it's nothing to cheer when we have a charismatic demagogue as president who exercises power that has not been legitimately conferred on him through the Constitution. I say this as somebody who reveres the Constitution, who has studied it in its history, and I have my entire life. I didn't come to this over the Christmas holiday. We're doing the right thing, you and I. We are. We're doing the right thing. We're staying engaged. We're paying attention to what's going on. We're paying attention to who's doing what. We're very concerned about it, which is a good thing. And I hope we can channel it into action come Election Day. Actually, before Election Day. And, look, there are many good books out there. But as I say, this book that I wrote isn't something that I thought about over vacation. This is something I think about every waking moment of my life. You know, I actually was interviewed today, first mainstream media interview by the Philadelphia Inquirer, by a feature reporter there who is still doing interviews and will write his piece, and I hope he does a good job. He sounded decent enough. And I told him many things. And among them I told him that to understand conservatism is to love it. It's to adore it. Because conservatism reflects the best of human nature. It reflects a wisdom on governance. And it embraces everybody. It is a big tent. It nurtures liberty. It nurtures morality. It nurtures the individual human spirit. You know, conservatism, ladies and gentlemen, is a truly beautiful thing. To understand it, to realize that it's based on thousands of years of human history. You know, that's why you and I see what's going on in Iran and we cringe. We're repulsed by it. You want to know why? Because we have a spirit and a belief system and a respect for a tradition that embraces humanity and rejects the inhumanity of tyranny in all its forms. Now, we may not be perfect, and we're not because we're human beings. And our governmental system, as expressed in the Constitution, may not be perfect. Because man is not perfect and his institutions are not perfect. But it's the very best there is. We can improve it, but you don't improve it by destroying it. Liberty is a very, very precious thing. There are 300 million of us in this country, give or take. Aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky to be Americans? Aren't we lucky to be part of this society and culture? And yet there's a certain percentage among us who doesn't appreciate it. They keep attacking the civil society. They want to create a society in their own image. The Constitution doesn't permit it. The rule of law doesn't permit it. And so they evade them. And at all times they tell us they evade the limits on their power for our sake, to improve our lot. And yet they don't. They don't do it for us. They do it for themselves. I'm nowhere near as articulate as James Madison or Hamilton or Jay or Edmund Burke or John Adams. Nowhere near as articulate as Milton Friedman, Hayek, Mises, Buckley, Reagan. But I am who I am, and I try to make the case behind this microphone every single day, and in this book, Liberty and Tyranny, that now is the time to stand up and be heard, and here is why. There are reasons beyond the superficial. Reasons beyond the superficial. And that's why I say often, look at your children and your grandchildren. At least do it for them. But conservatism, as I explained to the reporter for the Philadelphia Inquirer, it's not a narrow philosophy. It's not a philosophy that lacks compassion. Quite the contrary. We embrace humanity in all its forms. We love liberty. We look around this country and we recognize the blessings of liberty. We look around this country and we don't take anything for granted. Whether it be a cell phone, a microwave oven, whether you go in the grocery store and see shelf after shelf of all kinds of food and varieties, never before in human history has so much been offered and provided. Never. We have flush toilets. Most of the world doesn't have flush toilets. We have running water. Most of the world doesn't have running water. We have electricity that comes right in the home you just flick a switch. Most of the world doesn't have electricity. We have health care that none of the rest of the world has. We're attacking our healthcare system. We're attacking our energy system. We're attacking our water supplies. We're attacking the very things that have advanced this society as a result of, well, our fundamental principles, that is conservatism. Why? Why are we regressing? And why should we accept it? We've eliminated malaria in this country and tuberculosis in this country. The third world has not. The environmental movement in this country won't allow the third world to eliminate malaria. We use DDT in our own cities. We used to drop it from helicopters and airplanes when our kids were playing at recess on playgrounds. Same with Europe. We won't allow Africa to use DDT. We won't allow Southeast Asia to use DDT. Why? Because the left in this country has managed too often and in too many ways to take control of the instrumentalities of our government. We didn't elect them to do that. Many of them are unelected bureaucrats. They're activists. They've seized control over the courtrooms in this country. In other words, they don't act democratically. They take the totalitarian route. They're self-appointed. And they take whatever authority they want to take. Now, we are at a very, very important point in our history. A very important point in our history. And what gives me hope is that you know it. You know it. And I can tell. I can tell from this show. I can tell from the people who read Liberty and Tyranny and other books. That you want to know more and that you're poised. You're poised for real change. And hopefully when the election comes around, we will throw some of these bastards out of office.